service round about the middle of next year.
The pandemic then brought further hold-ups. Now technical software issues are preventing their use, delaying the rollout to stations such as Reading, Winnersh, Camberley and Bagshot. Not only is South Western Railway without its new fleets, but some of its older carriages have been withdrawn because of their age, and others are being used on the South Eastern network. Decisions that were made under the impression the Arterio trains would be in service by now. And that's led to cramped conditions, with some trains running with fewer carriages.
When they do get these new units, they'll be absolutely wonderful things. So I would just urge people to be patient. Yes, it has a negative impact for the time being, and these are very tricky times with obviously cost of living, the ongoing strike situation. So there's a risk of negative perception. But I'd say the good news story is that overcrowding indicates people want the railways. They need the railways.
We know how much passengers need these. We've been working on it for a long time.
Stuart tells me the Windsor to Waterloo line will be the first to have the trains, relieving some capacity pressure when they finally launch. Are you confident that some of these trains will actually go into passenger service this year?
Well, we're working hard on getting this, the systems correct and the testing correct. What we just need to make sure of is that they're safe for the driver training and also reliable enough to go into service. Recently, of course, we've had a significant landslip at Hook. We've suffered from some industrial action. There's been a number of issues that we're having to deal with. That, of course, puts the trains out of place on the network and means it's really difficult to provide the capacity that is needed when the demand requires it.
We filmed in Arterio, stored in Southampton next to the military base in Marchwood. Delivering all 750 new carriages could take 18 months. So with no clear departure date, the wait continues. James Dunham, ITV News.
The owners of Highclere Castle are no longer able to hold large weddings due to a shortage of workers. The venue gained popularity as a wedding venue following the success of Downton Abbey. But writing in a national newspaper, Lady Carnarvon blamed Brexit for undermining the hospitality industry. She said there weren't enough staff to put on events of the quality needed.
Schools and colleges in Oxfordshire and Berkshire are being encouraged to sign up to be part of a major survey into the mental health of students. The survey takes place every 2 years and is run by researchers at the University of Oxford. It will include questions on the cost of living crisis and eating habits. The data is shared with participating schools and colleges to help them better respond to the needs of pupils.
20,000 illegal cigarettes have been found during a raid at a shop in Reading thanks to a sniffer dog. Yo-Yo the Cocker Spaniel was brought in by Trading Standards during the inspection of the European Mini-Mart on Oxford Road. The tobacco, worth more than £5,000, was found hidden in delivery cool bags.
Now you're watching ITV News Meridian in the Thames Valley. Thank you very much for your company this evening. Still to come on our programme.
They lived together as children. Now 3 brothers are under the same roof again at a care home in Hampshire.
And high pressure may be affecting our weather at the moment, but did you know it could also be affecting your cup of tea? I'll be back later to tell you all about it.
Well, for more on all of our stories today, you can, of course, go to our website. Details on the screen. itv.com/Meridian is the address. You can call us 0808 1010 095, and you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
Organisations supporting asylum seekers are calling for them to be allowed to work while they await the outcome of their claim. Charities say the cost of living crisis is driving them into destitution.
Well, according to a report out this month by the International Rescue Committee, many companies believe that it would have a positive effect on the UK economy if they were allowed to take up employment.
Well, Home Office figures show the asylum backlog has quadrupled in the last 5 years. Chloe Oliver has this report from a refugee hub in Southsea.
They came to the UK in search of safety. But now many asylum seekers find themselves in limbo. Can they stay or will they have to go home? That's how people told me they felt at this refugee hub in Southsea. Some here have been waiting years for their applications to be processed by the government.
I come to the England exactly 8 January 2003 and now is 2023. Normal citizen, that's my dream. freedom, normal citizen.
We come from Afghanistan. Before in Afghanistan, I work as a director of one organization. If my application is accepted, we can easily my normal life. We lose everything.
People seeking asylum are given somewhere to live and a £45 per week allowance to cover food, essentials and travel. Many asylum seekers volunteer, like Kadiatu Conte, who helps others to learn English. But crucially, they're not allowed to work, and that can be tough.
My daughter is going to a big school now, and so many activities she wants to do, she can't do because of our immigration status. So it doesn't make me feel good, but for her sake, I have to make myself a little bit happy for her to be happy.
UK vacancy rates hit a record high of 1.3 million last year. The latest figures showing 1.2 million jobs available. And there are approximately 127,000 asylum seekers awaiting permanent refugee status, who some say could help to fill some of those vacancies. Shamila Dana is a migrant herself and set up the refugee hub.
When you speak to people, you begin to realise they're architects, they're bakers, they're entrepreneurs, they're teachers, they're nurses, they're doctors. So if you're coming from a place where you were always working and providing for your family, and you can't do that, it really has an impact on people's morale.
According to officials, the reason for the restrictive policy is to ensure that those looking to move here are doing so for safety and not for economic reasons. But could allowing them to fill some of those vacancies give the economy a boost, as well as the morale of those waiting? Chloe Oliver, ITV News.
Well, for more on this, we can talk to Maria Stevens, Head of Campaigns at Refugee Action. Maria, so there are rules in place to ensure genuine refugees coming here are doing so for safety reasons. If the rules were to change, how would we know that people weren't coming here for more economic reasons?
So the government's stance on this actually makes no sense. The Home Office's own research has shown that people coming here don't know they won't be able to work and disputed any kind of pull factor. The government's own advisory committee, the Migration Advisory Committee, has asked the government to produce evidence for why the ban is in place, as it can't find the merit. We know that we have an asylum system that is there to decide who needs international protection, and that is decided under international law criteria. At the moment, people are waiting for years and years, sometimes, often for very many months in the asylum system, even though 3 out of 4 people will go on to have a successful claim and become a refugee, and even more will have a successful claim after a wrong decision when they then appeal. And what that means is that they're unable to use their skills during that time. So all we're asking for is that while they're waiting, they're able to contribute to the economy, to integrate and to support their lives in the UK by being allowed to work.
And how do you see that working in practice if those changes were to be made? Would asylum seekers, for example, only be allowed to work in sectors where there is a large number of vacancies?
So the Lift the Ban coalition, which Refugee Action is part of, is calling for the right to work for people seeking asylum to be granted after they've waited for 6 months for a decision on their claim and unconstrained by the shortage occupation list. That's backed by employers, business leaders, economists, trade unions, faith groups and refugee organisations. We talk to people in the asylum system who are desperate to work. They want to contribute and they want to bring themselves out of poverty, which if they could work, they would be able to do. There's over 1.1 million job vacancies in the UK at present, but employers aren't able to use that labour that's available because the government doesn't allow it. It is a government intent on keeping refugees in misery that keeps this rule in place.
OK, Maria, we have to leave it there, but thank you very much for talking to us on the programme. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, in a statement, a Home Office spokesperson told us the UK has a proud history of providing protection for those who genuinely need it through our safe and legal routes, recently welcoming hundreds of thousands of people. Asylum seekers, they say, can take up jobs on the shortage occupation list if their claim has been outstanding for 12 months or more through no fault of their own. Allowing asylum seekers the right to work sooner would undermine, they say, our wider economic migration policy by enabling migrants to bypass work visa rules.
And the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30 with more details. Let's cross to Charlene White in London.
Coming up on the programme, the latest from the earthquake in Turkey and Syria as the search through the rubble grows more desperate. Thousands are now confirmed dead. Will be on the ground in Turkey with rescue crews overwhelmed by the scale of the disaster.
Take a look at the amount of devastation there is. Just in this small area, it's thought that 100 people are trapped.
Across both countries, those buried are still being found alive, giving hope for those with missing loved ones, including people here in the UK, many collecting aid parcels as they wait to hear whether relatives are safe. We'll have all of that and the rest of the day's news from 6:30.
But first, a new mobile testing facility in a joint operation with Sussex Police is being rolled out across the country to check the safety of lorries on our roads.
Well, the new equipment enables the Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency to catch those who may actively try to avoid other static lorry checkpoints. Charlotte Wilkins has been to see it in action.
A lorry's brakes are checked and its steering and suspension are tested for defects. This one is given the green light. This new mobile testing equipment makes it easier to take unsafe vehicles off the road.
We're working in partnership with the police, and that means that we can really make sure that any offences that are being committed that put the public at risk are being attended to here, and any vehicles that are unsafe can be taken off the road, and the travelling public can be reassured that their safety has been taken into account.
The inspections can reveal anything from loose wheel nuts to unsecured loads. Both can prove to be deadly.
Particularly in relation to insecure loads, we've seen sadly a number of fatal collisions just on the roads in Sussex, and of course that's much more widely across the country as well, because anything that falls off the vehicle of course becomes something for other people to avoid, and alongside that it's also the condition of the driver, so making sure that the driver has had enough sleep, they've had enough rest, making sure that the driver's not under the influence of drink or drugs.
The drivers we spoke to welcomed the checks.
A bit nerve-wracking because you're not sure what to expect, but at the end of the day they're doing their job. They've got to make sure the lorry is safe, make sure they take regular breaks on the tacho.
So David, this is one of the vehicles you've pulled over. Tell us what you found on the inspection.
We found 4 issues with the vehicle today, ranging from there's no vehicle excise duty in force, road tax, so the road tax is expired. We've got a problem with the tyre on this wheel, the tyre's worn below the limit, and we've also got a problem with the brakes, one of the brakes isn't working, and that's really about road safety, the overall stopping distance. The other problem issue with it has got an oil leak as well, so there's a number of issues on this vehicle.
There were a few things found in the inspection. Were you aware of those before you got in your vehicle?
I did a walk round checks this morning and that, and everything looked fine and everything. Obviously they go deeper on what I do. And they found the defects which can't be helped. It's just a health and safety thing, and they're doing their job, which is keeping everybody safe on the roads.
Within an hour, this lorry's tyre was changed and brakes fixed. Once it's been re-MOT'd, it will be back on the road once again. Charlotte Wilkins, ITV News.
Next, a mother from Sussex who has incurable cancer has been writing books to help children understand what's happening to their sick parents.
Anita Howell from Burgess Hill wrote the first books after her husband needed hospital treatment, and then when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, she wrote about that too. With more details, here's Abigail Bracken.
Look at that one. Reading the books she's written to help children like her own son, explaining the treatments their parents need in a way that's easy to understand with colourful and realistic pictures. Anita wrote her first books on kidney treatments after her husband Simon needed dialysis and then a transplant.
We just were trying to find books like you can easily get books about, having a new baby, moving house, things like that. Most things that children have to face and go through, there's usually a children's book about it to help parents sit and explain the situation to them, and there's nothing available.
Then 6 years ago, Anita was diagnosed with breast cancer. Despite extensive treatments, her cancer is now incurable. Anita hopes her latest book about breast cancer, along with her books about kidney treatments, will help children understand what's happening to a sick parent and she's already sold more than 1,000 copies online.
It's been read by, or 2 children from the age of about 20 months up to 80 years old. So all ages.
In the UK, a parent of a child under 18 dies every 22 minutes, according to the charity Child Bereavement UK. That's almost 24,000 every year, and means that more than 100 children are losing a parent every day.
Serious illness or grief or death of a loved one is one of the most intensely painful experiences a human being can suffer. And on the shoulders of a child who doesn't have the psychological maturity or the understanding to process that, it's extremely traumatic. And the body can really shut down and stop ways of processing that, and the feelings can become incredibly toxic. And so talking about serious illness, about death and dying is incredibly important.
Talking that Anita hopes will be made easier through reading her books. She now hopes to find a publisher so she can help many others. Abigail Bracken, ITV News, Burgess Hill.
Well, let's hope she certainly finds that publisher, because it's invaluable, the work she's doing, and so brave, isn't she?
Absolutely.
Incredible.
Now, we're going to get a check on the weather forecast in a moment or two, but first, a lovely story about 3 brothers who've been reunited in a care home in Fareham.
Yes, Portsmouth through and through. Maurice, Norman and Alan Jones now spend much of their days just reminiscing about a lifetime of memories.
Well, I went to see them at Hartwell Lodge, and they were more than happy to talk to me, but on the strict proviso that they were allowed to finish their lunch first, and it was looking like a very nice lunch. They have another brother called Harold, who's not feeling too well at the moment, so we wish him all the best for a speedy recovery. There's all 4 of them there in that photograph. In fact, it wasn't just the main course. They made me wait until after pudding, which was lemon drizzle cake and ice cream. So again, yeah, no blame on them whatsoever. But eventually I did have a quick chat with the Jones brothers. When was the last time you would have all lived together when you were children?
Well, we can go back to the war days, obviously, 1940s, you know. My early recollection is when the Pompey was being bombed during the daylight hours. As soon as the all clear warning came, Maury, I, Harold used to grab the bucket and go around the streets and pick up all the shrapnel. Fill the bucket.
Alan, can I ask you, what's it like to be living with your brothers again?
Oh, it's nice. Yeah, I lost the wife, and now it's good company having my brothers around me and things like that. It really is good.
And earlier, Alan, Norman was telling me that when you were kids, you'd fight over your lunch. I'm guessing that doesn't still happen.
We used to.
Norman was saying that when you used to fight over the food, it was usually Maurice who won. Is that right?
Yeah. In those days, yes. Yeah.
Big brother.
Big brother.
Nothing changes.
Just look at him, look.
Don't go taking those carrots, there'll be trouble.
Okay.
Oh, what a lovely story. I bet that was a fun afternoon.
Yeah, it was good. Enjoyed it. Thanks to the guys for entertaining us yesterday so well.
Weather time now. Pip's here. Pip, another nice day today.
It's been all right, hasn't it? All thanks to high pressure, but not just any area of high pressure, a very intense area. So what do we mean when we're talking about high and low pressure? Well, take a look. It's quite literally the weight of the air above us and the pressure that's putting on the Earth's surface. It's measured in millibars or hectopascals, whichever you prefer. And when we talk about high pressure, that's very heavy air. It's descending, it's sinking, it's suppressing any cloud, it's suppressing the winds, and so we get all this nice settled weather. But let's put it into a bit of context. So usually here in the UK, we'd average around 1,013 millibars. On Sunday, we got close to 1,050. Not quite a record, but it's getting there.
Now, we mentioned this briefly earlier on. This has some kind of effect on tea.
It does.
Which firstly begs the question, where are the props?
Yeah, I knew I'd spill it if I tried to bring tea in. But yes, so basically, for water to boil, the pressure of the water has to equal the pressure of the air. So if the air pressure is high, then the temperature of the boiling water has to be high. Estimating it's around 1,001 degrees Celsius here at the moment. Conversely, if you've got low pressure, you're at high altitude, very different. If you're at the top of Everest, you'd only need 68 degrees Celsius to get that morning cuppa.
I've learned something.
It's very interesting.
No idea.
I'm going to put that to the test a lot on the late shift this evening. Let's get a check on the full forecast. Here's Pip.
Feels like home, whatever the weather.
Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps. Sponsors ITV, Meridian Weather.
So with high pressure firmly in charge over the next few days, we're looking at a good deal more in the way of settled weather, but there will be some subtle changes afoot. Over the next 24 hours or so, still plenty of dry, sunny and cold weather, but as the week wears on, increasingly we'll see a bit more cloud, and that in turn will lift the temperatures ever so slightly. So here's that high pressure very much in charge through the rest of this week. A couple of fronts drifting our way from time to time, but as they run into that high pressure, they're not going to amount to much, just a bit more cloud and the outside chance of a few spots of light rain or drizzle. But that won't be the case overnight tonight. We're looking at dry and clear conditions. Underneath those clear skies, it will be a chilly one. Temperatures for just about all of us a few degrees below freezing, and some rural spots could dip as low as -6 or -7 Celsius by the end of the night. So a widespread frost, potentially some slippery surfaces in places, certainly some windscreens to scrape come tomorrow morning, and some pretty dense fog patches around as well. But the fog and the frost will gradually lift and disperse through tomorrow morning. Take very good care if you're heading out first thing though. And once it clears, we're actually looking at another very decent day. A good deal of dry weather, plenty more in the way of sunshine. But much like today, the sunshine not really helping the temperatures. Highs tomorrow, just 7 or 8 Celsius at best. High tides for tomorrow then for Poole, they're around 10:30 in the morning, around 11:10 in the evening. And whilst we'll hold on to that high pressure, it's worth noting we will see a weak front drifting its way southwards overnight into Thursday. That will bring a little more cloud, but with the cloud, a slight recovery in temperatures.
Valent. Sponsors ITV, Meridian Weather.
And in just a moment, the ITV Evening News tonight. That's with Charlene White.
That is it, though, from us. I'm back with the late update just after 10:30 this evening. But for now, from the team, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you soon.
Good night.
Bye-bye.